God, these shoes are massive. Greetings from the video. As you can see, I'm here again with Mr. Phil Burt, and today we're going to be talking about marginal gains. These are Bradley Wiggins actual shoes that you moulded them, didn't you? You did it.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're going to talk about marginal gains. So we're going to get some tips from Phil of how everyday riders, you don't have to be Bradley Wiggins, everyday riders like me and you can, I don't know, push a little bit more power, just get some marginal gains, because you'll explain now, but you were Mr. Marginal Gains.
Oh, I was part of it.
It was part of it. Anyway, let me.
She always bigs me up.
You need to. You're too. What's the word?
Humble.
Yeah, you're just way too humble.
Well, I started with British cycling in 2006 or 2018. Then Chris Boorman organised a bunch of people and scientists in the background and brought in people to make better bikes, better skin suits. And there's lots of different projects of those that I was involved with. It's famously called the Secret Squirrel Club. And as a physio, you might why was I involved in that? But if I talk to you today about some of the projects there, but what can seem very sort of elitist and airy-fairy marginal gains now, I can't do that. But we talk about the principles behind why some of those things work and what you can do for yourself. So marginal gains for you, as it were.
Amazing.
Okay.
So just how many Tour de France's, how many Olympics?
I was there I was lucky enough to go to 3 Olympics and the home Olympics. Not everyone does, that's great. And then I helped out when the professional team started after Beijing. It was a 2-year process of starting the professional bike racing team. We'd never won a Tour de France with a British man, and now there's 7 British winners of the Tour, 7 times. So that was a pretty amazing journey to go on. I wasn't on the Tour de France all the time, but I was definitely part of some of the things we'll talk about today. How you help. Well, Dave Brailsford once said to me, "How are you going to help when the Tour de France fail?" And I was like, "I don't know. I'm the physio. I'll just keep them fit." But what we can talk about is should we dive in first?
Yeah, go for it.
Sleep. Okay. So that question was asked to me, and I thought, what can I do? And I was ramming with my veins, and we were talking. We had a performance support team with lots of different people in there: physiologists, ergonomists, biomechanists, and we always should meet up and talk. And one thing I noticed was that you may know if you're travelling, for example, and the bed's really bad in the hotel, you wake up with a stiff neck and back. And I'd often treat riders, and they just had stiff necks and backs, and it was literally because they've been sleeping in a really rubbish bed in a rubbish hotel. In the Tour de France, you change bed 18 times in 21 days. Right, 18 times 21 days. That's a lot, right? You don't have any choice in the hotel. So even though you big, Team Sky, Ineos, whatever, loads of money, you don't choose your hotel. The ASO gives it to you. Okay. Why would we train people to the level we train them? Put the effort we put into making sure the nutrition is micro-managed and we just go, the most important thing in recovery is sleep, and we just leave it to chance. So that's where the bed in the bag program came about with a number of people, and I worked with them, is that we took all the mattresses out of the hotel and put individually tailored memory foam mattresses in there. They also had sheets from burns hospitals, because if the rider has road rash, one of the big things people might, if you scraped all the skin off your leg, every time you turn over in bed, you bring the bed sheet with you, rip off the skin, it wakes you up, your sleep's disturbed. So these sheets were the I think they were nylon coated, so basically
a frying pan.
like a non-stick frying pan, so you won't stick to them. And if you really want to go into absolute depths of marginal gains, it was putting air filters into the rooms. And if I can describe that to you, so if you're in a different room, then you're breathing in different house dust and mites and things like that. There's different allergens in every different place. Yeah. So you imagine that's 18 times that changes. It's not your own bedroom that you're very used to. And your immune system, when you're breathing in and out at night, there's some amazing fact that I think you breathe in so much dust and out so much dust. And every time you do that, your immune system's working out. Is that a threat to us or is it not? Your immune system's under a lot of pressure on the Tour de France. You're already on the absolute rivet. So it's pretty easy to break in an immune system. That's why people break down and get ill. When you're under a lot of stress, that system's a lot of stress. So just the air filter means that, hold on, mate, if we take out potential threats to the immune system and allergens, then you've got more of that left.
So would you say for someone like me, someone that's like just a regular rider, an air filter would make a difference? I mean, we're talking marginal gains, so...
If you're talking marginal gains, I don't think that would be the biggest difference to you, but so of the two, 100%, I would say, I would invest as much money, and any of the watchers, in your mattress. Get the best mattress you can possibly afford.
Phil spent quite a lot on his mattress.
It is, because it supports you sleeping, and if you can afford it. And the thing is, every night it gets cheaper, every night you sleep on it, So I see so many people, and they put, you're spending loads of money on, you know, £1,000
Bikes
gets you a lot of very good mattress these days. You know, just be wary. Like you know, for example, memory foam is great. Some people love it, but it can get quite hot. Old style individually pocket spring can be a lot better for some people, especially big people like me, because they support your shoulders and hips better where you're sleeping. Having the right pillow, I use an orthopedic, a memory foam orthopedic pillow because it supports my neck better. That's where I go. Yeah, the air filter's right at the other end of really extreme.
I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna look on Amazon.
Yeah,
I'm gonna try it. So what else? So we've got sleep, like air filters. So what's the next?
I would say, and this won't surprise you, position. Okay, so. But when we're talking about position in terms of marginal gain, it's like you don't want to be fighting or trying to overcome something that's suboptimal, you know. So you can be putting all this effort into training and doing things, and something about your setup is wrong, you know, and your body,
not optimal, not necessarily wrong.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes we also associate the wrong position with pain and injury. I think what we often don't talk about is it's not not hurting you, but it's not the best thing for you. It's not allowing you.
It's not helping you.
It's not helping you. Yeah, you don't want to be. You want the bike to be as good as it possibly can be in helping you achieve that. So, for example, you know, if you're on slightly too long a cranks and that you're working around that and sit a bit further back, but you change the crank length, it means you can come forward into a more aggressive position, more aero, things like that. So, I think making sure your position, either by reading my book, going online, looking at various things. You can do that. Going for a bike fit with somebody locally that you trust. Something like that. Yeah.
Or you can just get your book.
Yeah.
I'll leave a link to it below.
Yep. New book's out.
New book. Let me grab it actually.
Yeah. Sorry about that. I thought it was on side.
It's alright. You're a busy man. Have a look at Phil's book. Also, let me try and find something in it. Bike fit window. Who's that? That's me. I'm in the new book, but yeah, that's the book. Really, really good book. So.
You're a great model.
Thank you so much.
Okay, yeah, so this is a carbon fibre shoe that was made, I had to cast all the riders for Rio Olympics because they banned overshoes, and shoes are pretty unaerodynamic, so we hid the bow. Now, if you look from the front, it's very aerodynamic now. I actually call them the power shoes because when we cast the feet, this shoe fits you perfectly, so it's like a custom-made slipper, as it were, yeah? And in cycling, we don't have all the complications of heel strike, mid-stance, toe off, like in gait. That makes getting... For a running shoe, you couldn't build this for a running shoe because it actually wouldn't work. It would cause you loads of problems. But in cycling, we're just on with power, and we saw incredible uplifts in power in some of the sprint cyclists and even some of the endurance ones, where you could literally tell that shoe on, shoe off, they were producing more power. Now, my thing is, if the shoe fits you perfectly, you're not wasting any movement of the foot within the shoe. All the power that you spend, a great deal of time training from your thighs is getting transferred straight into the pedal and the thing. And I think people that marginal gain can come home because, but number one, get a good fitting shoe. Yeah. So often what you find with shoes is that when you tighten them up, some people when you tighten up, the whole thing tightens up. And if you've got like a bit of a weird shaped foot, slightly flat at the front, or what I call high volume in the middle, your feet are a bit special. Sort of thing. You definitely want a shoe that allows you to tighten up more at the front or less and more here. So that variability and ability to make the shoe fit you. And the second thing is look at the insole in it, right? If it's a rubbish insole, go and you don't have to spend loads of money on a fancy podiatrist made orthotic unless you've got some special needs of bike, but just like off the shelf, better insoles, there's plenty out there on the internet, that can make a difference. And the right insole and a good fitting shoe gets you about 80% towards this. And if the insole's there meeting your foot's not moving around. I always say with cycling, it's like your orthotic should be your shoe almost, and you can get 80% of the way there if you ask me.
And how much would they be to make? Can you allowed to say?
$2,000 each.
Each per shoe?
No,
or
per pair.
Because you do custom insoles.
Yeah, we can do it. Yeah.
And how much would it be to
£100? Like I said,
£100. So it's slightly cheaper than a.
Yeah, and do you know what? And I made them for you, didn't I? And
yeah.
The biggest thing they do for most people is just make it much more comfortable, and that's just as important. If you're comfortable within the shoe and it's got a nice top layer and everything, if your foot's meet it, then if you're more comfortable, you reduce pain for longer. Power for longer, not pain. So last module game. These people here and all the greatest athletes I've met, I've worked out that one of the qualities they all share is I think they're all very good about knowing when not to train. So of course, if we don't train, we don't work hard, you don't get better, and everyone knows that. But recovery is just as important. So a coach once said to me, a famous thing, is are you overtrained or under recovered? And it's hard to work. That's a bit of an oxymoron. He said, but it's a really good point. It's like recovery is so important, and that ability to know when you might be, hold on a minute, I'm cooked. If I do stuff today, it's actually going to be counterproductive. that is a hard thing to know. But I would say I would encourage everyone that marginal gain in understanding yourself. Don't be an idiot. I meet loads of people who say I get injured at this time of the year, or I get ill at this time of the year, and that happens every year. Well, what are you doing at that time of the year? So a classic one is I get ill in winter, and people are training outdoors, and it's like you can easily modify that. If you get a cold every November, and you got a bad chest, and you train, you can modify that. You can, if you get injured at a certain point within your training plan, it's when your coach is making you do like massively overwork efforts. Don't be stupid to go back there again. Why did I break down there? What can I modify? And sometimes it's the plan and the training plan that needs to change. The best plans in the world, the plan changes the next day after you make it, doesn't it? Because every plan has to be dynamic, and adjust to you. And the easiest thing in the world is to make. I sat in a meeting once, and he was like, coaching would be dead easy if everybody responded the same way. We could all be Olympic coaches, because I could write a plan to make you stronger and to make you the strongest man, and you follow it. The problem is that things happen along the way, like you get injured, you get ill, life events happen, and so often a plan is like about going around those cones and working out how you get there.
That it?
Well, I think marginal gains is much hijacked,
Oh.
I think Dave Brailsford nicked it off Clive Woodward, actually, because we get 1% gains and everything like that. But my big thing is, 1% gains are great. Don't miss out the low-hanging fruit, because most of us mere mortals. I often say, making him 1% better is really important. It can be the difference between gold and silver, but I make him about 1% different, because he's already really good.
Yeah.
So I know you really love it. I can make you about 30% better, I reckon. Most people, because you don't know what you don't know. So go for the low-hanging fruit, because it's normally the big things hanging around that you haven't optimised yet, rather than like, for example, a classic example would be for me, go into a wind tunnel, knowing that you're quite tight and not adaptable. Why would you do that? Because they're going to work out a position. It's invariably going to be quite hard. I earn the right to get to wind tunnel. Make sure you're as flexible as possible, as strong as possible. So whatever position comes up, you can then go and hold it.
It keeps talking about this low-hanging fruit, and I'm like, what are you on about? I can't understand it now. Any other questions that you've got about Bike Fit, leave it in the comments. We will be doing more of these videos. So yeah, let us know what you want to see, what you want to know from Phil, and thanks again.
Thank you.
See you next video. Amazing. Any closing words?
One thing would be, I would say, is wait, I've forgotten it. Is it recovery?